The president said the terrorist threat has evolved and he wants Americans to remain united in the fight. How do you think that message resonates with the American people, considering that there could be sympathetic elements to terrorism in the United States?
There's no doubt about that. And when the president said it has evolved, I also agree with him. Let's not forget that those who attacked America 15 years ago came from outside America. But after that, attacks had evolved. Recently, Peter Bergen, is an expert in terrorism, wrote a book which he called United States of Jihad. And in that book, Peter gave copious examples of what had happened after 9/11. Almost all the major attacks that took place on American soil came from within.
Yeah.
They were Americans radicalized by external influence. And so when the president said, look, this has evolved, you know what he's talking. Let's look at, for instance, the attacks that have happened so far. San Bernardino was carried out by an American, Farouk and Tasfin Malik, his wife. What about Fort Hood, Nida Hassan? He's an American. If you look at the one that took place in Chattanooga, it was by an American. You know, if you look at even the recent one in Orlando, Omar Martin, he's an American. So it has evolved. Yeah. Terrorism has evolved. It's no longer so much coming from outside America.
People are being radicalized inside.
Yeah, and of course you heard about people like Anwar al-Awlaki, who is a native American, an American citizen, went to Colorado State University, radicalized so many, including our own Abdul Muttalab. You know, so he knew all this, and he needed to point a way in the right direction. The right direction that, look, you might be looking at Muslim nations outside of the United States and thinking they are the problem. They are not anymore. On the basis of the data that we have, there is an evolution of terrorism, and it is now on our own soil. You have lone wolves, radicalized Americans going out there to attack. But there's a need for unity because it will take communities, it will take mosques and churches, it will take the local authorities and good citizens to come forward and say, I think this guy is not right. Something is not right about this guy. Let's keep an eye on him. That's what he was talking about.
How concerned do you think we are, this part of the world, on the issue of terror?
The world is a global village. 10, 15 years ago, nobody would have thought that Nigeria would have the problem of Boko Haram. But, with the situation that we have in our world as a global village, just a touch of the button, you hit the super international highway of information. And that's what you see happening in Nigeria. It got into a point, we should be worried because I understand, and I'm sure you know, not too long ago that the Boko Haram pledged allegiance to the ISIS.
Yes.
So terror is just one group. So we should be worried.
Post 9/11, we've seen a rise in armament, especially for countries such as North Korea, which recently tested a nuclear bomb on Friday. Will more armaments eventually lead to peace?
I don't think so. Except for those who think that if you have applied the principle of MAD, which is mutual assured destruction, that is to say that the more armed countries are, the more reluctant they will be willing to use it because they know that destruction awaits everybody. But I don't think having more arms gives us more security. I believe in the theory that says, look, prevent more people from getting arms. The few nations that we have now with nuclear weapons should not allow others who want to acquire those weapons, because the countries that have had nuclear weapons over the years are tuned to the use of the weapons. They know the destruction it can cause. Just imagine like the young man in North Korea having the nuclear weapons today, which of course is doubtful, but people are saying it's close to achieving that. It's not achieved it yet. And I listened to Hillary Clinton today when she was asked by Chris Cuomo what she was going to do if she becomes the president. And she was saying, look, our first priority will be to prevent the North Korean president from getting that weapon and getting ballistic missiles on those weapons with the capability of sending them out. How do you intend to do that? He says he's going to pressure China and other countries that the Korean government listen to, the administration listen to ensure that that doesn't happen. So I don't think that the world will be safer with more countries acquiring weapons.
Uh, there is, of course, a threat of ISIS, which some analysts have said is an outcome of the U.S.-led invasion in Iraq. With the current campaign against the militants, do you see ISIS being decimated in the long run?
ISIS is already been decimated, but he needs to be sustained. Well, I don't totally agree that ISIS was a fallout of a direct U.S. activities.
Not a direct fallout, though, but over time.
Well, over
Groups
time.
that have been armed
Well,
to fight against certain groups have all come together to form ISIS.
well, let's look. Look, ISIS basically started as the Iraqi version of Al Qaeda. All right, and I don't know if you remember Abu Zakar al-Zarqawi, Abu Musad al-Zarqawi, that was killed in Iraq some times ago. They were a splinter group from the Al Qaeda in Afghanistan who were operating in Iraq. Okay, and what has happened was after the U.S. troop moved out of Iraq, some had argued that there was a vacuum, and that vacuum needed to be filled. And so there arose al-Baghdadi, Abu-Bakr al-Baghdadi, who got his troop together and came together to enlarge a group which they called ISIS, simply means Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Now, if you listen to somebody like President Obama, he doesn't call them ISIS. He calls them ISIL. He's talking about the Islamic State of the Levant. Now, when you look at that, they are saying that they cover areas like Libya, Egypt, Jordan, and eventually, the plan is to start from Syria, where they are in Raqqa as the capital, spread to Iraq, and then move to all these other countries. And essentially what they intend to achieve is, okay, we're setting up an Islamic caliphate with al-Baghdadi as the caliph, the successor of Muhammad, and who is going to administer Sharia based on the Wahhabis doctrine of Islam. It's about the most extreme Islamic fundamentalist practice. And so, well, to the extent that every member of ISIS or Al-Qaeda believes that America is the enemy of the world and that there's a culture conflict. In other words, a conflict of civilization. America wants to wipe out Islamic civilization. America is the enemy of the world. America is killing Muslims all over the world, America is polluting the Holy Land in Saudi Arabia to the extent that they see America as the demon. Yeah. Yes, you can say ISIS arose as part of activities of American people.
We're talking about ISIS, and we're also talking about Syria, which has been in crisis since for about 5 years now. Do you still think the solution to the crisis in Syria is for President Bashar al-Assad to leave office?
I think so. And this is very simple. The history of Syria is such that it is come under several interferences from different parts of the Arab world. Now, Bashar al-Assad is from a very small tribe called the Alawite in Syria. Now, the Alawites naturally are aligned with the Shiite Muslims in Iran. And that's why you see the Hezbollah and the Iranian backing him with the Russian. Now, the Saudi Arabians want Bashar al-Assad out because they are Sunnis. All right? And so it's a proxy war going on in Syria. Saudi Arabia is funding the rebels who want to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. Iran is supporting Bashar al-Assad. So the only way, since he's the face of the conflict, the only way you could find a solution, they must find a way for Bashar al-Assad to leave.
And I know that, we ask this every time, but really, is there a lesson that Nigeria can learn from the U.S. method of dealing with terror groups that fight insurgency in this country?
A lot to learn. And a part of what the U.S. do in dealing with terrorism is you intercept, you gather intelligence, and prevent. All right? And then you shock and awe. In other words, now, the purpose of experience is that you don't have to go through what others went through before learning their lessons. So we should learn from the U.S., and I think we've done that in the past, trying to bring in their military men and to learn from them. There is a lot of lessons that we can learn from them. not gathering intelligence after it has happened, as we do here in most cases. We can also prevent.